over the short term or over the medium term, do you think it's going to be better?
I think you're still going to see overall sale price be lower than it was last year.
Not only does it have to stop going down, but it also then has to improve by another 15 or 20%.
Welcome to the Tom Storey Show with Steve Karrasch and Tom Storey, where we discuss real estate or whatever else is
I can get
on
better.
our minds.
Welcome back to episode 197 of the Tom Storey Show. Steve is already complaining because his shoulder hurts, probably because he got whacked around again in jiu-jitsu. I'm guessing. Is that what happened, Steve?
That's what happened. I hurt myself.
Have you won any of the, are they called fights? Are they duels? What are they called? Matches?
No, I've only competed once, and it didn't go in my favor. But I got promoted this week, so finally.
All right, nice. What does that mean? Like a different belt color? Is that what that is?
Yeah.
All right, well, congratulations. What are you now?
I'm officially the second least sucky.
There you go. That's it.
First most sucky. First
Momentum.
most sucky, second sucky. I don't know. Anyway, I got my blue belt this week. It was fun.
Congrats, man. Welcome back, everybody. Welcome back to the Tom Storey Show. There's going to be a catch-up episode. We got a ton of real estate topics, insight, things going on with the market that we want to chat with you about this week. And also a past guest of the show, Cody Krause. I wanted to give him a little plug to start the show because he's doing an awesome event that's coming up on February the 10th with Ben Rabidoux. It's happening in Windsor, and it's going to be a morning outlook on 2026 housing that Ben is going to be speaking at with Cody. It's breakfast. It's February the 10th at 9 a.m. at the Ambassador Golf Club, which is in Windsor, Ontario. So anyone that is out that way, I'd highly recommend. Steve will put, I think it's like $60, super cheap. We'll pay for your breakfast, some coffee, and some real estate insight with Cody and Ben Rabidoux. And yeah, I think you should definitely check it out. Steve, I've had the craziest week of travel in my life. And I didn't even travel very far. I only went to Halifax. And I got to tell you, I've always been an Air Canada guy just because, well, we have like 3 options to choose from. So that's probably why that was just the option that I chose. I don't know anymore. I think if possible, I'm taking Porter to anywhere I can go where it will take me. Because I got absolutely screwed over. It was crazy.
Porter will tick you off one day too.
They'll all probably tick me off. But
they all tick you off one day. You move. It's like moving from whatever, Rogers to Telus or Bell or whatever. It's eventually they'll all tick you off.
My worst nightmare is committing to something and not showing up. Like that stresses me out. So like my personality style, saying that I will do something and then not showing up, especially if it's out of your control, just stresses me out so much. And to show up if it's hang on. It's better to not show up if it's not in your control than not show up and it is in your control. And you're like, I just don't want to do it. But I still feel bad about it. So it's like I had to start this year. I had done 4 kickoffs. That's one of the things that we do other than with the team is I go speak at real estate brokerages, and I love it. And it's great to see different people, and it gets me to travel a little bit across Canada. I've done it in the States as well. So I went to Halifax for like 24 hours. So I went there on a Sunday. Got there, and then what was funny is like I was stressing out so bad because I was talking at 2 p.m. My flight was at 6:30, and I'm like, I just need to get back to Toronto because then I'm speaking at another kickoff in like Durham region at like 10 a.m. the next day. And my worst nightmare was having this flight canceled. And then the day I'm in Halifax, all the schools are shut because it snowed so much. And I'm like, oh my God, I'm gonna get canceled here. And then I'm like, okay, throughout the day, on time, go to the airport. An hour delayed. I'm like, whatever, fine. 2 hours delayed. I'm like, whatever, fine. 3 hours delayed. Like, okay, I'll get home by midnight. It's all good. I'll still make it there tomorrow. We finally board the plane. The plane leaves the gate. And you know the point where the captain comes on and he goes, flight attendants, get ready for takeoff.
Flight attendants.
That's it. So I'm like, all right, beautiful. I'm going to make it home. And we're about to take off. I can literally hear the wheels start moving. You know when it's like about to ramp up? And then this smell starts coming out of the little, like the, like vent is the right word, but like above you when you can turn on and off the air. This smell just starts coming down into the plane. And the flight attendant comes on. They're like, we're aware of the smell. Do not breathe through anything but your clothing. So the whole plane is just like, and I'm sitting there, I'm like, for God's sakes. And then the pilot comes on. He's like, we're going through our checklist and we're trying to figure this out. And then they come on, they go, we're going to go back to the gate. And I'm like, oh my God, we're going to go back to the gate. So we go back to the gate. We get off the plane. Immediately I get a text that the flight's been canceled. Right? So I'm like, screw this. So anyways, long story short, ended up going to a hotel, got 2 hours of sleep. Screw Air Canada, booked a Porter flight at 6:30 a.m. the next day. They saved me. It was on time. It was perfect. I got to the event with an hour to spare and it went great. And I was just on pure adrenaline. But the best part of this entire story is my flight didn't take off because there was a terrible smell. So I told my wife this. And when I landed in Toronto the next day, my wife calls me and my 4-year-old wants to talk to me. He's like, Daddy, I heard the plane didn't take off because it smelled bad. Did you fart? He just... Anyway, I love the minds of a 4-year-old. So that's been my last few days.
Did you tell him no? It was the pilot eating hard-boiled eggs in the front.
Yeah, no. Uncle Steve was on the plane. He had just cracked a hard-boiled egg.
I'm glad you got home safe eventually.
I got home. I'm grateful. My main criteria with airlines is that they take off and land safely. That's all I actually care about. But I was stressing out and I thought I was going to miss this commitment that I made. And anyways, it all worked out. Let's get started. Did you hear, Stephen, about the crazy industry news? And I don't know. I was trying to think of if we should cover this, but I do think people will be interested. And then it kind of leads into another question. Did you hear what happened with the Royal LePage Brokerage in Toronto in the last 2 weeks?
I heard within the industry, absolute turmoil and craziness going on. If you want to explain it, go ahead. I think it's pretty agent focused, so I think I think consumers will enjoy this as well. So essentially what happened about 2 weeks ago is Royal LePage, it used to be called Royal LePage Your Community. It is the second largest franchised Royal LePage, I believe, in Canada. I think over 1,200 agents. Only us at Signature have a higher agent count. So just to be clear, I work for Royal LePage as we're going through this story. I work for one of the franchises. Overnight, a Royal LePage franchise that I think had been with Royal LePage for I would assume over 20 years, if not longer, just announced they are now a RE/MAX. And people were freaking out and no one knew leading up to it. I had a good friend that worked for that company for 22 years. He's like, I had no idea. I found out on a Zoom call. And they went over. And the discourse online, Steve, was crazy between the RE/MAX agents congratulating everybody, the Royal LePage agents being like, what the hell just happened? I'm sure it was factored into the decision that you lose a certain percentage of realtors that have the brand loyalty that wants to stay. But here's where it gets kind of spicy. So I should say before this, I got to have dinner with the owners of this brokerage, Vivian and her daughter, Michelle, we're going to cut this if that's wrong, but they are the most lovely people ever. I met them 2 years ago in New York at a conference and I was sitting across from them at a dinner table. They're awesome people. And the big thing that happened is a lot of the discourse online is in this economic environment, Steve, why would anybody that's working for a 100% Canadian company want to associate themselves with an American company? Right? So that's kind of the first thing that came out. I think there was also a lot of finger pointing saying this was a financial decision, but not necessarily benefiting the agents, just the brokerage owner. You would assume making a change that big. I think it was the single most agents that went from one brand to another ever in Canada for RE/MAX. So this was massive. Royal LePage loses more than 5% of their Canadian agent count in a day. So that's a huge hit. And what I was then interested in is Steve, you work for Macdonald Realty. If you wake up tomorrow and they go, we're Royal LePage, but your broker made that decision, do you have brand loyalty or do you have broker loyalty? Because Kind of a tough question, right?
Yeah, I mean, yeah, that would be tough. I think you would get a split.
But it sounds
here's
like
where my brain went with this, Tom. It was like, I'm not convinced that Remax is the future. I don't know if that'll get me in trouble by saying that, but like
they're huge. Just to be clear, they're huge in Canada. They own more market share in the GTA than anybody else. Yeah,
but I think they're declining.
Perhaps in the States, but in Canada, they're huge.
No, but you can be huge and it's still declining. You can still be the biggest and declining, because I feel like, particularly in my marketplace, the Remax offices used to be like massive heavy hitters, and now they're older folks and they're kind of dying on the vine almost. So that being said, I don't think it's that big of a deal for that many people. So many people have, most of the part-time agents for sure, or the new people have all gone to cloud brokerages because they don't want to pay for office space or anything like that. I don't know. I am very, I would say, loyal to the brokers that we have here and what they're building.
Like if they came to you tomorrow and said, Steve, we've made a decision that we think it's in the best interest of our agents that we are now X brand tomorrow. We are no longer Macdonald Realty. Do you go, no, screw you guys. My loyalty is to Macdonald Realty, or do you go, my loyalty is to you? And if you think this is better for me,
I don't know.
Cool, let's do it.
My loyalty is to my team and my clients, not my necessarily.
Okay, well, does that not go without saying though? But then there is some level of the client experience is one thing, but then you as a business owner, you're hanging your license somewhere and you choose to hang it there for a reason. Is it because of the brand or your broker?
If you're such a big brokerage and you change over to a different brand, you're doing that for financial gain. You're not doing it usually.
There's obviously finances involved in this that no one knows the number. Yeah.
If I'm the agent, my first question would be, if I'm staying with you, are you paying for my entire rebrand?
I would assume
because you have to do a rebrand.
I would guess they pay for all that stuff, like new signs and all that kind of stuff. That would be.
Some of these agents are going to have hundreds of signs out there, right? So I don't know. Could be an expensive move. I don't know.
The thing, because I've been thinking about this. Like I work for a LePage, and because what was interesting is I think of the 1,200 agents. I don't know how the final numbers are going to shake out, but what I've seen online and good friends of mine that work for that company are like, we go where she goes. So their loyalty was obviously broker, not necessarily brand. And then I was thinking, like, is my loyalty to the brand I work for, or is it to Chris Slidham and Signature? And I think it's just Slidham. So
yeah, maybe, I don't know.
So like, I love LePage. I think they're an awesome brand. There's no reason I would.
I mean, it's not. This company, it's not like they made a major switch to like, we're gonna self-brand, or we're gonna go to one of these new.
They went from good to good. You went from the second biggest
1 to 1A or 1A to 1, whatever it was. Right. Like,
what I did find kind of interesting during this time where everyone. By the way, do you see the online chatter about Carney's speech? People were loving it, man. You gotta at least watch that and be proud that that's the guy. Like, all I've ever wanted is just Canada to be taken seriously, Toronto to be taken seriously, regardless of where you are on the political lines. You got to at least go, okay, all right.
Well, wait. First of all, it was word salad. It was a bunch of big words that meant nothing, all mixed together. No. And then after that, are you telling me that when the number one globalist goes to the globalist organization and gives a speech,
he's not going to get?
They're going to be like, oh, he's like the number one guy. He's like top of the heap there. And when he gives us speech talking about, like, honestly, they gave like a highlight of him talking. It wasn't the New World Order speech that he gave in China. It was the other one at the actual World Economic Forum. And I turned to my wife and I said, what did he just say? And she's like, I don't know. Like, he didn't say anything. He's
sounded good.
Yeah, to a bunch of rich people that are like, you peasants, you figure it out. I don't know. I guess it's nice that everybody likes him. And if you listen to Gavin Newsom talk about how much he likes him, then great. But I don't. Is that the direction I think we should be forming our greatest? It shows you how wrong for the rest of the world the Trump's moves have been, because we have now been pushed into the arms of China.
Yeah, I guess
right?
is that better than
It's so stupid. There's just a bunch of morons running everything, and I don't know. To say that was a good speech, that was preaching to the choir. That's what that was. That wasn't a good speech.
Well, let me wrap up this first topic because I did find this last thing interesting. The reason why I brought up the Carney speech is because a lot of people are online are saying that, well, why would you ever work for an American company during this time? Would you not choose, if you were in control, to work with a Canadian company? And just to be very clear, Remax Canada is a Canadian company owned by Canadians. Your fees,
yeah,
hear
but
me
so
out.
is McDonald's Canada.
Just hear me out. Their fees do go to the Canadian owners. Now, of course, the Canadian owners do pay fees to the American company to have the franchise rights. So, like, let's just be very clear. And then what I did find interesting is, so, like, you know that Royal LePage is owned by Brookfield, right? Did you know that? So they own Bridgemark, which owns Royal LePage. Yeah. Yeah. And do you know where Brookfield's operations are now set up?
Which were moved by Mark Carney right before the election?
Bermuda.
No, the head office was moved to New York.
The head office was moved, but I think where
but the money's all sheltered. Like, he's sheltering absolutely everything. So, like, it's a crock, man.
I have found it kind of interesting to watch Royal LePage agents and Remax agents kind of fight online about this. And, like, Remax Canada is Canadian from an American franchise. Okay, Royal LePage is a more Canadian company. I'll fight with anybody on that all day long, but it doesn't matter. And my question for the people watching this today is, like, do you care what brokerage your realtor even works at? Because I bet you, Steve, if I called my best friend right now on my phone, or I called even my sister and I said, do you know who I work for?
Hang on, I'll wait for your call.
Yeah. It just is do not disturb. They would have no clue. They think the Storey team is a brokerage and I work for my own thing. That's what most people assume anyways.
Yeah.
So I want to know from the audience, do you guys care? Do you care if the real estate company that you choose to hire to sell your home is a Canadian company or an American franchise? Does that bother you at all? Or are you're hiring the agent and then the rest of that is like, oh, you happen to work there, fine.
And before all the crazy right-wing pro-Trumpers jump on me at the same time as the crazy left-wing Liberal Party of Canada jumps on me, can I point out that that a clean and crisp real estate website is a must for your business. To start your free site right now, go to realtyninja.com/Tom and you will pay absolutely nothing until your site is ready to launch. And then when you are ready to launch your brand new site, you will save 20% off your entire first year just by going to realtyninja.com/Tom. So what are you waiting for? Get a beautiful real estate website for your business right now at realtyninja.com/Tom. No matter which country you're in, no matter who owns whatever you got, they're doing the same policies. Their immigration policies are very much the same now. Their spending budgets are very much the same now. Their tariff policies are very much the same now. Except we're supposed to be told if we're doing it because we have a maple leaf on it, a maple leaf that's red because the Liberal Party is the one that made the flag. Well, they were in power when they made the flag, and that's all programming. It is true.
Really?
The reason it is, yes.
I didn't know
the
that.
Liberal Party was in power when they went from what was it called? The red ensign or whatever our old flag was to the new maple leaf. It was, why do you think we're red? We're red and white because the Liberal Party has always been red and white. That's the way it is.
Is that just a Steve-ism, or is that like one of those myths that you talk about but you never fact check it, or is that actually real?
Listen, I fact-checked it on a YouTube video. Which is how I do all of my fact-checking. And, it's definitely been designed or was designed that way. And it's part of the programming. And as a result, we end up with a Liberal government as part of our mental programming. But what I'm saying is the policies are the same. So it doesn't really matter. You've just got one guy who talks word salad and the other guy that can't stay on target. And they're both doing the same things. And they're both crazy. But I think it's nuts, and let's talk about real estate because who cares?
Final thing, just industry chat. This will take 30 seconds. I think people think this is interesting. The iPro scandal that happened, the $10 million that disappeared. An email came out very recently saying that any agent that was involved in a deal will be covered. They will be paid 100% of the money that they were owed that was stolen. Going into this, most people thought
the buyers and the sellers.
They're fully covered as well. Everyone's covered. This was mostly commission payments after the fact. The buyers and sellers still closed on the properties.
So did the errors and omissions insurance of the scammer kick in?
I don't know. All I got was an email from Rico that has now been taken over by a government appointed official saying that 100%, because most people believed it wouldn't be more than 50.
Ontario budget gets upped, or the Ontario real estate agents, like, we're going to make you guys whole. By the way, your monthly fees just went up by $500 a month.
Yeah. So I'm not sure how it plays out. And I don't really think most people on this podcast care if the realtors get their full commission or not. But hey, if you worked a job and you were guaranteed and you had a contract to be paid something, wouldn't you be pissed if the money disappeared and they said, well, now you get half, right? So let's move on to topic number 2. I want to talk about the 2026 market because I'm starting to feel, and I'm an optimistic person, Steve, starting to feel like this is just the same. There's a lot of listings coming. My phone is ringing every single day with people wanting to bring their listings to the market. Now, the good news is that if it's anyone that already previously tried to sell last year, we're coming back at lower prices. And the ones that I brought to the market that were brand new, that were not for sale over the last really 5 years, they understand the market conditions that are coming out. And I will say that our showing traction has been very encouraging in all of January to compare to what it was in the back half of 2025. But I'm starting to think that, at least in the city of Toronto, and I'd love to hear your perspective on your market as well, new listings are going to hit at the same rate. A lot of the ones that came off last year are going to come back at some point. And I think we're going to have similar inventory levels. Like, I think we're still going to be in that high end of balanced market. I'm talking full market, all property types right now. We're not getting into micro markets. There'll be some micro markets that will trade very quickly. And there's still lots of homes in Toronto getting 10 offers. Like, we're seeing that popping up in these little great areas, but that's not the norm, right? Those are small percentages of the market. As I look, and I will say, like, we're really busy with buyers as well, and people are making decisions. Even we're helping we've got a deal tied up right now for a condo investor. So, like, you know, people are going to do things. I'm not convinced 2026 is going to be much difference. I think you're still going to see overall sale price be lower than it was last year, with slightly more transactions because of the pricing discovery of the sellers going like, all right, fine, this is where we're at. If this is what it takes to sell, let's do the thing. But the thought of it, of inventory going down, and what was interesting is I looked at last year's numbers for the city of Toronto. We didn't actually have that many more new listings every month than we had compared to the year before. The only difference was they weren't selling as fast. So that active inventory started to pile up month over month and kind of peaked out in those summer months before it kind of came down for the rest of the year. Steve, I'd love to know, what are you seeing early days, 1 month into 2026 in your market?
We've dropped to, I want to say, 7 month supply across the entire market for the month of, I think it was December.
Dropping to 7 month supply is a crazy statement.
Where
were you?
It was 11.
Oh my God.
And as a result of that, we're going back that way, and we're started off the year at a pretty high number. Like, we started off the year at just over 6,000 listings, and as I broken record here, 6,000 to 6,500 in the Fraser Valley is a good market for June. Like, a good market being a good market for everyone. It's a nice balanced market. So I think we're going to crest the 10,000 listings this year, because there are so many people that are either stuck on old prices or paid, particularly in the condo space, paid really high prices.
Yeah.
Like, if you're in a house, you can hold on and stay or do whatever. You're not going to move. But if you're in a condo, a lot of the time you're moving on because life has changed for whatever reason. lots and lots of listing calls for sure. The call always goes like, well, we're only going to move if, and then it's whatever their price is. And so I'm like, okay, well, you're not going to move. And then I find out that later on when I go face to face. So my, as everybody listening to this may or may not know, Tom and I are in coaching with Richard Robbins International. My coach, Dana, is pushing me hard to be like, stop being a loser that sits in your office
never gonna
and does
change.
YouTube videos. It will not change. But basically, like, stop being the guy that sits in his office all day and just does videos and is on the phone. Like, try actually meeting, belly to belly. And I say, well, my belly's bigger than it used to be, so I can't get as close to people. But so I have been doing that. And what I have found is that through that, meeting people face to face, you start to realize, okay, well, this is going to happen. They will make the move. It's easy on a phone call or an email to be like, oh, well, I'm going to do it at this price, this price. And it's like, no. When you actually sit down with them, they're like, oh, it sucks that we didn't sell 2 years ago. And I'm like, I mean, yeah, but you've been here for 15 years. I sold it to you in like my, one of my early years in the business, and you paid $290, and sure, it was worth $950. Now it's worth $725.
Right.
And they're like, oh, so a lot of those conversations. And I find when you actually go sit with people, they're like, yeah, it makes a lot of sense. And I'm like, the question I have though is, I'm like, do you think over the short term or over the medium term I would say is 1 to 3 years, do you think it's going to be better? Like, do you think it's going to not only does it have to stop going down in most of the scenarios, but it also then has to improve by another 15 or 20%? And I'm like, I'm not seeing anything. However, I will say a lot of the people I'm meeting with, a lot of them are government employees. So I'm asking them like if they have a job that's affected by the economy, and they're not, because they're government employees. So their check stays the same. So they don't really internalize how tough it has been for people in construction or whatever else is driven by the economy at the time, right? So lots and lots of listings, very few buyers. I will say, I don't know what happened a few days ago, but I have that buyer guide download just on all my videos, and I got a bunch of them all in one day. So it goes to show me that people are considering, like, when's the right time, when's the right move. Obviously, the investors for us are still mostly completely out, but there is a bunch of folks that are considering, what does it look like to purchase, which is great. But the majority of them, I would say, are people that either own multiple properties already or are downsizing or are estates or whatever, but they're a one-side transaction. So they're selling a property and not buying again.
That's why they wish they sold 2 years ago, because it actually would have been real gains if they weren't purchasing again, right?
Yeah, absolutely. And if enough of those properties come to market that have a sale side but don't have a buy side, and you don't have first-time buyers coming to the market, then you're going to be flooded with listings. And I do agree with you. I don't know when it will change around. I do feel like something will change around. Like, I do feel like it can't continue to just always be bad news, because a lot of properties are getting to a point where buyers are going, that's a pretty good deal now.
Yeah. I've been super encouraged by every single buyer call that I've had this year. And I've mentioned this before, so I'll go over it quickly, but like every single one of them, Steve, is like, I'm not buying this because I need it to go up in value. I'm ready. I'm ready to buy. I want to do this. I don't want to rent anymore. I don't want to live with my parents, or there's personal situations, going through a divorce, things like that. And I want to make this decision. And I recognize that over the next 2 years, it could be worth less than I pay for it now. But I'm not owning this for 2 years, and I'm not going to sell this in 2 years. And those conversations certainly existed in the past markets, but still everyone was like, well, like, I'm buying because it's going up in value and I don't want it to keep going up in value. I want to get on the ride here, right? I want to get on so I don't miss out or not be able to get in a year from now when maybe I'm actually ready. So I'm just going to jump in now. It seems like most of the people jumping in now are prepared, educated, end user focused, not speculating. I mean, investors are doing their investor things, but investors and speculators, I would put in different categories. But saying all that, I think inventory level is still going to be pretty high this year.
This episode of the Tom Storey Show is brought to you by Carson Dunlop. Real estate agents, you spend months, if not years, earning your clients' trust. You don't want to lose it on inspection day. For over 45 years, top agents across Canada have relied on Carson Dunlop for home inspections that are clear, calm, and client first. Their inspections don't just find issues, they know how to explain them in a way that will protect your client and your credibility. If you haven't worked with Carson Dunlop yet, now is the time to find out why Canada's best trust Carson Dunlop for home inspections. You can learn more at carsondunlop.com. I will also tell you, in the Toronto real estate market, whenever I see a pre-home inspection by Carson Dunlop, I know my buyers can trust it. And Carson Dunlop is a company we've used so many times over the years for our buyers and sellers. carsondunlop.com. And now back to the podcast.
I think we're still going to be mostly in a buyer-centric market for 2026. And obviously, micro markets matter more now than ever before with everything going on. But if we're talking about the markets that me and you service, it's kind of going to be the same. I don't see it changing that much. Good news is that if the prices have dropped since the past few years and your mortgage rate's now at 3-point-something% instead of 5-point-something% or 6.7%, at least the cost of ownership and the affordability metrics that we track are slightly better. Still very expensive, but slightly better than they previously were.
They're better for the people, or if you would have bought at the peak, they're better
Correct.
now. But where most people are coming from is they either have equity and their jobs haven't increased that much, or they're coming from a rental and they're going, well, that's way more because I've been in this rental for so long. Yep. So they don't feel like affordability is getting better. I got so much hate for the couple of videos I put out recently. One was that affordability getting better.
What are you getting hate about?
Because I point out
it's not
that
actually affordable. It's just affordability is slightly better.
Because idiots on the internet that comment.
That's not
I am one
call.
of them. By the way, I comment quite often. No, they're idiots on that. I said I'm one of them. I can make fun of my own.
Okay.
They are going to always say, no matter what, this is not affordable, that's not affordable, whatever it is. I hate the average income is blah, and you can't afford blah. No, it's not the average. That's not how the math works. That's nothing about it.
It's based on the mortgage approval, not the average income. It's the average income times 4.5 plus what your spouse has. You add those together. That's what you're being approved for.
What's the average income of the home purchaser?
Yeah, the home purchaser average income is higher than the average income because there's lots of incomes that can't purchase homes. Yeah.
Of course. And it's probably also higher than the people that have owned property for 50 years. Right? Like maybe. the average person acquiring property, what is their income?
That would be a really somewhere. No, is that on the internet? Let me chat GPT this. We'll keep talking. I'll get you an answer.
Yeah, because chat GPT, you know what? I think people are getting sick of chat GPT because it's just sitting there trying to rub your back and tell you you're smart, as opposed
sourcing
to
Reddit, and you're like, oh, your source is from an anonymous account online.
And
that
I don't even think their sources. I've been clicking on a lot of like the little link where it's like, oh, here's the source, and I read it, and it's not actually what the source says at all. I don't.
Oh, really?
I think AI is going to have. Oh yeah, AI is having a lot more trouble than we think. I will tell you too, at the same time, I was talking about values. I did a video on my channel about how tax assessed values are so far off. And I know you had this conversation with me back with when Bill was on about how in Ontario, they're totally off. Here, they're all over the place. And they're, I was shocked by the amount of folks that were commenting like, you don't know what you're talking about. This is the most accurate assessment of value given when it was assessed. And so I'm literally like posting like, here's a sale date at, there was a house in Cloverdale that sold for 1.66.
Okay.
Within like a couple of days of the tax assessed date, which is July 1.
Sure.
And then the tax assessed date that came out of which there was a recent sale at the exact same time, was almost $200,000 less. And then you go to another part of the city and you find one that was $200,000 more. Like, it's not a representation. It's not an accurate representation. But everybody's like, well, I did get this envelope from the government that says this is my value, so this is official. And those are all the people that believe in big government knowing everything, and they're morons. So I shouldn't, Steve.
Stop name calling.
I'm just saying it's ill-advised. Your market value is not connected to your tax assessment. It ideally would be, but it's honestly not.
It's a good thing in Toronto, because if it was, our taxes would be
yours is
freaking
weird for
crazy.
Reason.
Based on a CMHC report, the average household income for all households before taxes, this is not homeowner, just all households, is in Canada is $106,300 before taxes. Average household income in Canada. Median household income,
53 grand a year.
Hear me out. Median household income after taxes, this is Statistics Canada, 74,200. That's what they're saying. Typical homeowner income, no actual data, generally higher than median renter incomes, often above the national median. So we don't have any answers on.
And I'm not looking for homeowner either, because homeowner net worth and homeowner income are a lot different too. I'm looking for of this year. If you went of this year, the people that purchased, what do we, if there was 400,000 sales across Canada, what was the average income of a home purchaser, either household or I would love to know that number, because it's way higher than people think.
But wouldn't that be kind of the point, is saying like, well, we're in this shitty situation because you have, whatever that number is, let's say it's 85,000 versus the 47,000, right? That gets thrown around there. Isn't that kind of the problem, is that you have to make this much versus what the actual average is that they can't afford to get in? Isn't it kind of telling us the same thing anyways?
Well, traditionally 30 to 35% of people have always rented. So they're going to be renters and they're going to have lower incomes.
But have they always rented because they wanted to rent, or because they didn't have the income to buy?
Listen, what is minimum wage now? I'm going to say here it's $38,000 a year.
Oh, I thought you were okay. Say $38 an hour. I think, was it like, is it
15, $18 an hour here almost?
Okay.
Here it's like 17 something. So let's say it's even 1750 times there's 2,080 work hours in a full-time year. Does that make sense? Yep. 36,400. Okay. So if you're at 36,000 is minimum wage. Minimum wage is not a wage of which you should aspire to. It is a place for people that don't have skills, like teenagers and young people and people coming from other areas where they may not have the ability to have education. It's to keep them from being slaves at some point. It's not something to aspire to. So if you're worried about your average wage being low, then it's up to you in order to get your wage higher, right? Like, it's not a matter of we need to be focused on the lowest common denominator and giving them everything that everybody else that has more skills and more knowledge and more worth to society, worth being not that they're a bad person, but worth being the value that they deliver to society, so they're compensated for it. Like, we got to push these people, and nobody's doing that. Nobody's like,
sorry, go on.
No, this is probably the part.
Maybe I'll cut you off. You think about it if you want to say this, and then I'll come back to you. You look at from after the financial crisis in the States in 2008 leading up to 2022, and you look at the lift we had in real estate values. There are many different factors as to why that happened. We could say there was not enough of the type of housing people wanted, so the demand was there and it pushed up prices. We could say immigration, speculation, foreign buyers, whatever you want to say. I think the number one factor by far is interest rates. So in other markets where the average income to sale price was that 1 to 4 or whatever it was back in the day that people are referencing to, I know the interest rates were like, between like 10 and I guess, what did it max out at, 21% or something crazy. if you look at those numbers, though, I'd still personally, and I don't have the math in front of me, but I think I'd rather buy a house that costs $300,000 with a 13% interest rate than buy a house that costs $1.2 million. Maybe not. Either way, like you just look at
what
like
interest at 3.5%. No,
okay, maybe this is a bad example, but I think in most, if you look back to the past, in most sale prices with that high interest rate, that you were really paying no principal till like year 10 if your interest rate's like over 10%, or nothing meaningful at least. I think that would have put us in just a better position today. But saying all that 1-to-4 income to price ratio that at least we've seen in the YouTube comments everyone is referencing, it does exist in Canada. It's just not necessarily where most people want to live, right?
Totally. Yeah.
So it doesn't exist in Toronto. It doesn't exist in Vancouver. It probably doesn't exist in Calgary anymore. It doesn't exist in Montreal. Not in Ottawa.
It exists in a lot
but
of
it
spots,
probably exists in certain places.
But I want to be here, Tom, where I
like
was, or I want to be.
Edmonton, it probably exists right now. Does it not? Based on the lower taxes there, the incomes that you can get, the average sale price of properties, it's got to be pretty darn close.
You can get some really nice condos in Edmonton for under $300,000 and $200,000 and whatever. And do people want to do it? No, because
they
don't want a good hockey team, I guess.
But
is Edmonton still a good hockey team?
Yeah, they're fine. I mean, they have the best player in the world, so they're going to be fine. Who will come to Toronto in 2 years anyways, hopefully. I lost my train of thought. I think the real thing is that what I think a lot of them are saying is, I want it to be like it used to be, where 4 times average household income gets me a livable, not tiny living situation in the market that I grew up in. I think that's probably where the thought process is coming from. Whether it's right or wrong is debatable. I just think where interest rates were at for so long and the amount of debt that we are taking on, and everyone gets approved for their mortgage and they go, okay, you can spend $800,000. And then they look around and go, okay, let's go spend $800,000. It's like, you don't have to. You can spend $650, you can spend $700, but people were going to the max. And I think that added into all the other factors that we talk about, put us in the position that we are today. And now we have corrected from crazy low interest rates, crazy speculation, crazy immigration. We could not travel. We are obsessed with real estate, to an end user market with 4% interest rates. And it kind of makes sense why the sales volume is where it's at right now. Anyways,
I've never spent to my max. Every time I've bought a property, I've spent well below the approval.
I mean, that's probably why
I have enough money to invest in my retirement.
Well, that's the thing. Like, I think everybody, if you have the means, personally, I believe homeownership is an important thing, especially as you get older in life. Steve's drilled that into my head. I very much believe it. I also believe you should be investing your money elsewhere. And I'm not going to give you any financial advice on what to do for that. I think you should be doing both if you have the means to do so. I don't think it has to be one or the other.
And if you don't have the means to do so, you need to invest into getting the means to do so.
Skills.
Whatever that looks like. Skills or whatever.
Tell you, it's not going to be a real estate podcast if you're looking for more income. I can tell you that. At least from YouTube.
I'm not getting much income right now, so I don't know what I'm talking about.
Anyway,
I should not mumble into audio editing has been interesting lately because, anyway, keep going.
I'd love to know from the people watching today or listening in their cars, how you feeling about the 2026 market. Are you kind of in line with what me and Steve believe, that listings will kind of be high again? Prices will probably drop off a little bit. We have not hit the bottom. It hasn't happened yet. There's no proof of that at all in really any market. Maybe like Quebec, because they're still rocking and rolling and prices are going up and things are happening. So they're way past the bottom. But for most places, especially Toronto, Vancouver, and surrounding markets, this is where we are. So let us know what you think in the comments below.
For home insurance of any type, I use Square One. Go to squareone.ca/the Tom Storey Show to buy your tenant, landlord, or homeowner insurance policy and save $20. That's squareone.ca/the Tom Storey Show and save $20.
Steve, with that down, let's move on to the Bank of Canada. And for our YouTube listeners, I want you to take a look because I'm going to put this on the screen. I'll put it right over Steve's face just so you can see it.
YouTube viewers,
did I say
and
listener?
audio listeners.
Yeah, I always screw that. There we go. Okay, bye, Steve. All right, so
go to whatever point this is if you're listening on. No, just put it right over us. This is are you going to do this every episode now? Just put it there. Thank you.
Okay. So I like these charts because it visually shows us where the economists from a lot of the big banks believe interest rates are going. So this goes from Q1 2026 to Q4 2027. And TD, CIBC, and BMO believe that nothing is going to change from right now until the end of 2027. So for the next 2 years, interest rates from the Bank of Canada, that overnight rate is sticking at 2.25. Nothing is happening. Interestingly enough, there are 3 other banks that think different. Now, in the short term, I think most believe, like if you look here, the first jump that they think could happen is Scotia is calling a rate increase in Q3 2026. Nobody else is calling that. Then they're calling another 25-point jump in Q4, getting us back to 2.75. So that's 0.50 basis points going up. National Bank of Canada looks like they expect a 50-point jump from Q3 to Q4. That's kind of surprising. But the one that caught my attention the most is if you go over here, RBC expects no changes in 2026. And I don't know, they're going to change their projections here, but they think it's going up a full point between now and the end of 2027. So that would be essentially that'd be 4 25 points all happening in 2027. Mm-hmm. So these numbers change all the time. I think they're more certain with their 12-month outlook than their 24-month outlook. But 3 of the big banks believe nothing's changing for the next 2 years from the overnight rate for the Bank of Canada. National Bank of Canada thinks they're going up a little bit. Scotia thinks they'll eventually get back to 3%. And RBC's got them at 3.25 at the end of 2027 with all those rate hikes potentially coming in that 1 year. There we go.
So I kept this from last year.
Okay, were they right or wrong?
And so let's go Q4 25 because that's what we know has already happened. BMO was high by a 1/4 point. CIBC was bang on. Mm-hmm. National Bank was bang on, but they thought it was coming back up, which is interesting. RBC was low by a 1/4 point. Scotiabank was high by 3/4 point.
Yeah, they're keeping that
TD
trend.
was bang on. So I would say of last year, CIBC and TD were the most correct. So let's go back to yours and go, where's CIBC?
CIBC and TD both believe that it's not going to change at all for the next 2 years.
Okay. So I'm putting my money on Ben Tal and the Green guys as well right now.
I listened to an economist from TD at an event I was at last week, and I was very impressed by him. So I think I'd like to get him on the show. I don't know if TD allows their people to do this kind of stuff, but if they do, I'm going to reach out to him.
However, they were wrong on bond yields. So who was the most right on bond yields? TD again and BMO. So interesting.
Okay. So there you go. Would love to know what you guys think with the overnight rates. That's really one of the big factors that I'm encouraged by, strictly based on sales volume this year, is that I don't want to talk about Bank of Canada. I don't want to talk about them on this podcast for the rest of this year. I want to talk about what they're going to not do this year. And then, yeah, I know we're going to talk about it's going to be like what every episode's going to be about. But
what I want to know is if you enjoy graphs more than our faces, because Tom just likes to put up graphs every episode now.
I think visually showing people stuff is better. What's the thing we learned early in our business, Steve? Don't tell people something you can show them.
All right. Well, thank you, all you audio listeners who are not participating in this section of the...
We described it. It's like when you have a magician on like a radio show. It's like, well, what's the point?
Whoa.
I swear the card was the card. That's the one I was thinking of. With that down, Steve, let's move on to our next topic. This one is centered around the city of Toronto. This is a report that came out from stories.com, which, by the way, I have no association with.
Not TomStories.com?
No, it's just called stories.com, but it's spelled exactly like my last name. And quite a few times I've had people come up and they're like, hey, I love what you're doing with the blog. And I'm like, thanks.
You don't got to pay for it. Yeah, great.
Yeah. That's not me. They did interview me years ago. I thought that was funny. And then I met them at a conference and I was like, you guys.
Ooh,
yeah.
Did you see I got my first big shill CBC?
CBC.
Why is my mouth not connected to my brain?
Yeah, that's an
Did you
issue.
see I got my first CBC interview? That was fun.
I'm surprised they interviewed you after all the smack you talked. They must not listen to this.
And old BMO, Brendan Ogmanson, right at the
Oh yeah?
in the same story. So yeah, it was fun.
And what was it about?
Just the market and projections and how sales were so bad last year and the quotes they took from me. It's funny because you do an interview with them and then they just cut it up into the story they already wanted.
Yeah.
They
all do that.
It was just the sections that they used from me was, but you said earlier, I don't see this changing.
Right.
Basically, like it wasn't a great end of the year last year. It wasn't a great year last year. And at this point, there's nothing showing that it's changing otherwise. So expect that prices will likely be coming down, which is great for first-time buyers, which is great for people trying to get into the market. It's great for upsizers. Bad if you already own real estate.
I know I'm a realtor, but I think a lot of people are going to buy properties in the next 2 years and look back at it in a long time from now and be pretty happy they bought when no one was buying. But I know, but I'm going to get roasted for even saying that because everyone wants this thing to but like, I really feel that way. I feel that way about myself. I'm going to make an upsize. I'm almost positive in the next 12 months. Like I've got all the finances figured out. Because it makes total sense right now, and I don't want to do it in a heated up market that will come back at some point. I don't know when.
Tell you what, those people will be morons. Absolutely. I'm going to call them names. And if they put in something, oh, these idiots talking about real estate prices, and tell you what, send me a picture of you or your bedroom, and I will put it here, and I will not validate any of those comments until I know what you look like and what your situation is, because you're a bunch of ding-dongs sitting there going, oh, like I don't know if they're trolls or what, but people have it. No, I'm telling you, we can't bring ourselves down, and by we can't, I mean I have to stop reading the comments from people who are not interested in actually bettering themselves. This is the problem we have. Everybody has equal voice now, and equal voice isn't good because how many people? Joe Rogan says it this way. If we put 100 people in a room, what are the chances that one of them is a complete moron?
If you put two people on a podcast, what are the chances?
The 50%. But what are the chances that, if you amplify that times 10,000 views on YouTube per week, that you end up with comments from people? Of
course. You're going to get every side of it.
Watching Lego stop animation, whatever they call that crap, in between us and whatever else they got going on. They're next thing they're playing Minecraft and they're 35 years old. So let's keep going.
All right. Yeah, it was not on my bingo card to talk crap about the audience to help our show
under
this
my
year.
Front steps is really getting to me, Tom. I'm aggravated.
Oh yeah, that skunk can you hear my dog barking right now? That skunk is
get him.
He's losing his mind. Maybe there's a skunk upstairs. Is that skunk still taking over? Have you caught him yet? Have you brought in a professional? Are you trying to do this yourself?
No, I'm doing it myself. DIY.
Trying to like sell in your house yourself, Steve. You're gonna try it, and then the skunk's gonna get you. Tomato juice bath, and then you're gonna call a professional.
The problem that I'm having with the skunk is the fact that one, he keeps going back in. And two, I was amazed. They're like, we'll remove the pest control companies will remove, but they won't necessarily help you like patch up the area of where the pest is getting in. So now
Sure.
you've got to try and figure that out on your own. So I'm like, we'll figure it out.
All right.
Figure
Well,
it out.
let me get back to this stories article that came out. The title of it is that there is this is Urbanation data. Do you see Urbanation got acquired recently by RentSync, who is rentals.ca? I got to talk to Max about that. It's a very interesting thing. I don't know if anyone else cares about that, but I found that very. They were involved in their rental reports anyways, but it looks like they got acquired. Okay, no new condo completions by 2030. I'm going to read this off my screen so I don't miss any details here. Most important bullet point, Steve, demand has collapsed. New condo sales are at their lowest level in more than 30 years. Buyers, especially investors, have stepped away due to high borrowing costs, negative cash flow, and uncertainty. Okay, this is the root cause of everything else happening in the condo market. That is pretty clear. Developers have pulled the plug on future supply. Steve, in the city of Toronto, and I'm just talking about the real city, we got like 3 million plus people. I'm not even talking about the extended area. Can you guess how many condo projects launched last year? I'm not even talking about sold out, but just tried to launch.
25.
10.
Oh,
Crazy, eh? So new project launches and construction starts have fallen off a cliff. Cancellations from projects that had previously launched are at record levels. And this means that basically the development pipeline is shut down. Okay, so if it's not already being built, it's not coming for a long time. The wave of completions that we had last year was the most ever. So that is going to fill the market. And I still think it's getting worse before it gets better. And then this year we have like a 10-year average of condo completions. However, the pre-con ones closing this year in 2026, if you just go back to the year they bought them, these are like the peak market pre-con closings. These are the bad ones. These are the ones that are going to hurt the most. This will push into rental supply. You'll have a bunch of people that are unable to close, and we've talked about this for a long time. And what they're basically saying is that future condo supply is set up to dry up later this decade. So after 2029, there's like maybe a handful of condo units that will be completed. From 2030 onwards, zero. Now, we have the purpose-built rentals that will fill kind of the void there, at least for the rental inventory side of the market. And I still think rents will probably dip off for the next little bit. But that 20-30 year seems to be that most people are pointing to, saying, oh, that's gonna be something. But even 2030, so we know there's nothing being built in 2030 onwards. If a condo project launches today, and I'm talking about like a high rise, to launch, sell out, put the shovel in the ground, build the thing, how many years are we talking about? 4 minimum?
yeah, for
Minimum.
the high rise.
Minimum.
Yeah.
So that means right now, if anything launches this year, that's like a 2031 completion. But there's nothing that's going to launch this year. So the better question is like, when does it get to the point when these things can launch and actually sell and build? And that's probably not till 2028, maybe further. I don't know. And then add 4 or 5 years from then to when they're actually going to be completed. So we're going to be in a condo market, I really think, definitely the next 2 years, but probably the next 5 years, where it's going to be slow. Like it's just not going to be like it was. Prices will bottom out at a certain point in the resale market. I don't know when that's going to happen. But nothing is changing for 5 years. I really can't see. I mean, maybe you can clip this and say I'm an idiot because condo prices went up in 3 years from now, but I just don't see it. I think it's going to be best case, we're trading sideways. And then a boom will come at some point. It will. Everything, nothing remains the same forever. It will adjust at some point. And maybe that's because prices came down so much or interest level came down so much that eventually it just has to boom because they all start making sense again. I don't know what it's going to be, but I'd be interested. Are you hearing similar things in your market for the completions, at least, of new inventory? Because you've got like the sixplex stuff kind of happening. Is anyone building condos or purpose-built rentals? Like what's going on in the West Coast?
I'm interested to see if a lot of these buildings, even the ones that were sold that maybe haven't started construction yet, because that seems to be a weird thing too, right? Like there was a bunch of pre-sales that were selling where they haven't started. But Surrey in particular, there was a lot of condos cranes going on.
Okay.
And now those are wrapping up.
Mhm.
And they're available. And a bunch of people are losing their shirt on them. As we discovered when they sold them for 25% off and then went bankrupt anyway. Right? So I agree. I think that's what's going to happen. The question that I have is, when will the immigration policy change again? Of where they must just try and stuff the amount of people in. I'm not necessarily worried. I think we've got a good amount of absorption for a while, because hopefully a bunch of those turn over into owners' hands as opposed to rental. Hopefully.
Right.
I think the wave that's coming in rent is going to be interesting, because I think everybody switched to purpose-built rental. And my belief is that purpose-built rental was, or I wouldn't say planning on, but depended on all of those temporary workers, all of those temporary foreign students, and just a massive influx of people. So I think rents are going to continue to come down, which is great for the renters, but it's just a matter of how will that then affect the marketplace? Because you had all those people renting stuff out. The amount of landlords that are coming to me now and be like, why am I doing this? It's a real thing.
Selling it?
Yeah. Like, they're saying, what, I don't feel comfortable putting somebody else in it.
Right.
There's all these restrictions on what I have to do with it.
Right.
And they're not super interested in doing it at the time. And I think that's kind of a natural progression for a lot of landlords, because a lot of people aren't cut out to be landlords. So there's just, I don't know if it's an eye-opening thing when they see the new rents, maybe. And they go, yeah, I don't really like those numbers. So I don't know. It's also going to then reverse, as you say. So at some point we're going to end up with, oh crap. We have to build new. We have to build new, unless we're going to stop our immigration.
Well, for sure. Yeah. That's our last topic, is some of the new updates on the population levels. But hey, couldn't that be, like, if you think about this, so those people that could rent it out again are now going to sell it. So that's an investor trading a unit probably to an end user, right? In this market condition. Yeah. Couldn't that be a good thing, at least for the sale market, that prices are dropping, renters are becoming homeowners, you're trading an investor unit to a homeowner unit? I guess eventually down the line, if less people are investing, then there's less new product that comes to the market. But perhaps for the next at least 5 years, the purpose-built rentals will fill that void anyways. However, not at affordable pricing, because they're mostly kind of higher end. I mean, that could be a good thing for the market.
I wonder when it gets to here's what maybe we should timestamp this and come back to it. But I wonder if you have a bunch of these purpose-built rentals built. So somebody was condo and they were like, crap, that's not going to work. So then they go, let's switch it to purpose-built rental. And then by the time they're completed, for instance, if it was a high rise and it's 4 or 5 years down the road, do they go, maybe we should switch this thing back to condo and like sell a completed building?
Yeah, I guess.
Now I know in the building codes there may be differences.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah, but okay. But if your plan is to go, if your plan then at that point way down the road is to go, well, we're just going to keep this for rental. There is no risk, because then you keep it for rental. But if you move it or sell it off, I have seen this happen. I had a buyer once that bought a property because he lived in a purpose-built rental for almost 20 years. And then the purpose-built rental was sold to one person. They stratified it. And then they sold off I want to say it was 75 units or something like that. So they sold and started selling them off one by one by one by one, because their business model was to take this property that they bought at a discount because it was one title, stratify it, and then move it up and then sell them. I I think that might happen in the future. I think there might be one of these companies that's like, you know
That's
what, every
interesting,
time a tenant leaves, let's stratify this and because there's going to be, let's say that happens in 2032 and you've got this building, it's 4 or 5 years old and you're like, oh, these rents kind of suck.
I feel like
And then
that
you're
would
like-
be hard though. Taking an already used as rental building to slowly convert it would be difficult because why would you want to buy if there's like 3 owners in a building and the rest? Like, I think it'd be more like this thing's almost completed. They haven't leased any units yet and they're looking at the numbers and going, oh, actually, you know, demand's kind of back here. Why don't we just try to sell all these things?
You can do it the other way too.
I think
Every
that would
time,
be
like
the
you
more
can
likely.
you can stratify the entire place.
Yeah.
And then at that point, every time a tenant leaves, you could sell one off, right? Like there's options there. And I think but that would work in an environment of where you're back into short supply.
Well, that's what I'm saying.
And
Yeah.
you
It would
more
only
and
work
more
in that
and more.
environment
Yeah. So, but I think that might be
because there's no other
a way
condos coming.
goes. I mean, I don't think do we want to end up 20 years down the road, 30 years down, 40 years down the road with all these stories of these old, crappy, purpose-built rental buildings like you guys have in Toronto, right? That's just going to be the new
But
version of them.
I
where
know
they're
you
owned
say
by some
old.
pension
I
fund
know
that
you say
doesn't-
old and crappy, but those are the most affordable options for people that can't afford other housing
Yeah.
alternatives. So I know,
Yeah.
like you say, you wouldn't want to live there because those are old and crappy, but that is a lot of people's only options if they want to live in these areas.
But then they go through all the news stories and demonize the pension fund or whoever owns the building.
Yeah, but that's always going to happen. There's always going to be a back and forth on that kind of stuff,
course.
right?
Yeah, because there's two different sides to the equation, and everybody can only see their own. So I am speaking from my real estate agent, landlord, investor, owner point of view.
Of course, everyone is biased to their own situation. Like it's literally.
I have a
just
saying for this. I have a saying for this. Opinions. This is not the. This is
not the regular
saying you think
opinion saying.
Opinions are like assholes. You only think everybody else's stinks.
Yeah, it's a new twist on an old saying. I want to
Absolutely.
wrap up the show today with giving you some updated numbers on population growth being down in Canada, because obviously population growth is one of the 3 key metrics that I think anyone would be tracking, followed by unemployment numbers and interest rates for any real estate market across Canada. Canada's CMAs, and a CMA is a census. Let me try that again. Census metropolitan area, which is one core city or urban area with a population of at least 100,000 and surrounding municipalities that are closely linked to that city through commuting patterns. Okay, so that's what a CMA is. Canada's major cities saw a major population growth slowdown. The CMA growth dropped to about 1% in 2025, down from 3.5% in 2022. Immigration being the number one reason why. Toronto is the biggest story. Population growth was essentially flat in 2025, down from nearly 4% the year before. 100% driven by fewer immigrants. Now, not all cities are slowing equally. In fact, Calgary, Edmonton, and Moncton are bucking the trend and their populations are still rising. But I would guess that's not because of immigration. That's because of interprovincial migration coming from other cities. They believe that the rental market will feel this first. So with immigration now weighted more towards permanent residents compared to what we previously had it set up, I know, Steve, that this will first impact the rental market. Less new people, less rent cost, supply, demand. They do think that it could impact the ownership market over a period of time. If less people are coming to the country, eventually there is just less demand for ownership if we are just relying on our birth rate, which is very, very low in Canada. There's only one wild card that we should be watching, is the return to office policies. I still don't know how much weight I want to give this. Like, I think return to office means like I'm going to find a different job where I can be mostly remote. I think there's going to be a lot of people that do that. I think there's going to be people that just suck it up and commute in because they've established their family and their kids are in school in a different location. And there's going to be a lot of people that rent cheap hear me out, Steve. Cheap little bachelor condos for not that much money just to have a place in the city that they can stay at a few days a week, and they don't really care about the size of it. Maybe that actually brings demand to the lower end of the rental market. I don't know how many people are going to uproot their lives unless they have no other job options, and this is their only option. They're going to make an actual move closer to the city because of return to office. Any thoughts on that?
Government workers won't quit their job. They will do whatever they'll keep their job. So those people will, I think, move if they have moved. Like if a government worker went remote, I saw Dougie there talking about it. If they went remote, they'll
come back.
They will figure it out.
And think they're going to buy right away, or they'll probably rent for the short term?
Who knows? But they got to get back to work. They ain't giving up that government pension.
I got a client I just emailed with yesterday, and he works for federal government, and we are still waiting on an announcement to see, because federal hasn't announced it, at least as of us recording this podcast, to see if he has to go back to work. And he's like, I still want to buy this year. I just don't know when. I'm still waiting for an announcement. So like Dougie did his thing, but on a federal level, we still don't know. And that wraps up another podcast, Stephen.
Oh, okay. Yeah.
Sorry, what are you going to say? What are you going to say?
I was just going to say, did you see the Justin Trudeau and Chrystia Freeland getting heckled in the streets in Davos?
Because it was like a long walk from the hotel or whatever to the place that they were actually going.
Yeah.
Was Katy Perry there?
Katy Perry was there, and there was the guy from Revel News was harassing Trudeau. Trudeau actually kind of handled it pretty good. But he's basically, because they had that ruling about the Emergencies Act being unlawful.
Yep.
And the guy's just in his face, just going off. And anyway, it was quite entertaining. Quite entertaining.
Well, anyway, you know else is entertaining, Steve? Next week's guest, who I'm not going to give away.
I was going to say the Looney Hour.
I hope they don't cancel on us. And then we are coming up in a few weeks from now to episode 200, which is a massive milestone episode. We booked a really great guest for that episode, and we've got a fun little surprise for all the listeners and viewers for that episode as well. So if you're not already subscribed, make sure to get subscribed. Ring that bell icon if you want to be notified. I had someone ask me recently, like, I'm subscribed to your channel, but I don't see your videos. I'm like, oh, you got to go and click turn on notifications so you actually get notified. It's funny, right? Like I don't even know what a subscribe means anymore. It's just a vanity metric. I think views are the main thing that matters. But that's it. That's all. Thank you guys for listening. Thank you for watching. Have an amazing day, and we'll see you next week. Bye.
Man, we've got to ask them to subscribe to the channel.
Please subscribe.